early stage, it seems to be you can have a little bit more of a hands-on approach, but how can leaders in bigger organizations kind of take that tailored approach of nurturing that candidate that they have their eyes set on, but might not necessarily have a role for them at the moment?
Yeah, well, I think this is, again, sort of circling back to nurturing talent pools for future hiring. And each executive, I think, should actually have a KPI or an OKR of having a couple of those conversations, each week or a certain number each month of building those talent pools for the future. And I think that's back to Nolan's point of sort of always be recruiting, always be hiring. You can sort of build it into the actual performance metrics for your executives and hiring managers to be having those conversations. So then when it comes time to hiring, it's not all up to the sourcer or the recruiter on the team to suddenly go and try and find all these candidates that actually already been nurturing these pipelines for months and months.
No, that makes sense.
I love that. The other thing I would add quickly is that a lot of people here may have recruiting teams or recruiters that were recruiting for a lot of open roles for the last few years, and now all of a sudden that has changed. Yeah. And I think it's a great opportunity to actually leverage those people in a different way, which is instead of, hey, the house is on fire, we haven't been hiring fast enough, like now the inverse is true. Now they have more time, now they have more bandwidth. And so if leaders can actually help recruiters start looking more out ahead, and instead of it being this transactional come work for me conversation to a, hey, in 12 to 18 months, we're expecting to hire a VP of engineering. And, we just want to have some conversations and learn from some of the best people in the industry. I think that's a great way to leverage your recruiting team right now. I think that's a great way to, again, keep these serendipitous conversations going. And then when you start thinking about opening those roles, already you have an engaged pool of folks that you've been talking to.
No, that makes sense. And so with that nurturing, we as kind of recruiting people who speak recruiting kind of know how to do that, but how would one implement that and kind of communicate that to leadership if it's well, I have this list of people, but I don't really know what to say or how to say it. What is the best way to, streamline that process across the board? Because it seems, yeah.
The way I love to do this is from a place of curiosity. So when I do network recruiting, it's typically hey, we have this problem that we're about to face, and I want to go learn from some of the world's experts. And typically the way that I'll do that is I'll actually go to my investors first, and I'll go to some of my trusted advisors who have really deep and great contacts. And they often are able to put together a list of folks for me to be these are the folks that you would want to talk to. Either through them or someone else. I typically ask for a warm intro instead of cold, but cold intros still work great. But then in the reach out, my goal is hey, I would love to learn from you about this thing. And I think that that's a great way to just open up a conversation. It's a great way to make the other person feel wow, somebody wants to learn from me. Everyone has this thing within them to where they want to help other people. And I think coming from a place of learning and curiosity versus hey, we're thinking about hiring in 12 to 18 months is a much better way to do things.
And just to take that kind of one step further, I received some great advice from Vivek Sadera, is actually on the call, is the co-founder of Superhuman. And one of the sort of tactics they use to onboard a lot of their engineers is starting with a small contract and a small project. So to Nolan's point, you can kind of identify someone, maybe get them on, for a couple of hours a week, or a few hours a week. And then slowly over time, as they kind of get more and more exposed to the company, they get more excited about it. All of a sudden, your opportunity versus the 10 other ones they're considering / starting their own company, all of a sudden your opportunity becomes more and more sort of stronger in their mind. And then when you do give them this opportunity to come full time, it's much more likely to happen. But it's also a great way for you to get to know them and to understand if you actually do want to hire them.
No,
that's such a great flag, David. And quick plug for Continuum, which is the company that I'm currently building. We connect executives for exactly those types of opportunities. And some of the most strategic founders are thinking 12 to 24 months in advance. And so oftentimes these people are thinking about hiring a VP of X or a CXO the best way to actually do that is to engage someone now as an advisor, bring them on for a couple of hours a month, build that relationship. And then when you're ready to hire, maybe it's that person, but if it's not that person, then potentially it could be somebody from their network because you've established a relationship and trust.
Yes.
Right. Typically, an executive search placement will take anywhere from 3 to 6 months, if not longer anyways. So starting to build those conversations will be super helpful. And another thing that I love to do is ask for like their lieutenants or their mentees, because those people are actually much more likely to take on a much more riskier opportunity at a startup.